Hi guys, so today I just want to play with some stencils, do something a little fun, maybe something you haven't thought about to do with your stencils or you knew about but you just haven't tried it or whatever. But we're going to do a few different things to color them, to use them, more of an embossing tool. So if I have any links to the items that I'll be using, they'll be in the description box. Those will be affiliate links, which means I'll make a small commission if you purchase items to those links. So thank you guys for using those if you can. So what we're gonna do is just get started. So I grabbed some paper. This is heavyweight white cardstock, which is what I prefer to use, but there it is. And then, my camera is being kind of funny. It's like flashing the battery at me, even though it's plugged in. Okay, and I'm gonna use the Holiday Wishes stencils from Diamond Press this time, but of course you can do this with any stencils that will fit in your machine, right? So, oh, that's so cute. I had a stencil in mind to use just so I can do a few different, this one. So see how it has like holly and like little pine cones and all that? Thought that'd be really sweet. We're gonna use it a few different ways. But let me put this over here, get this here. What I'm gonna do is cut this down. Now you can put the whole piece of paper as big as your rubber embossing mat, because for this, what I'm gonna show you today, you're definitely gonna wanna use a rubber mat to get that embossing. So that's the whole point, right? So I think one of the things I'll do today is probably just like a little tag. So I'll cut a tag. This is from the Diamond Press Celebrations cracker set, which I believe is no longer available, but I love this tag. It's like the perfect size, so I just keep it here and I use it all the time. So I think one of my projects will be with this. I don't really know. Let me think. I was going to do one that's just what it is. I was going to do one, well, let's just do a couple different things. So let's cut this down to like card topper size. What am I doing? 5.5? Yeah, 5.5. And then 4.25 the other way. And then the one we're gonna cut. So I mean, I can just run this through, but I'll probably run this through the marquee just to get it cut down. But this definitely has to go through a machine that's larger. The stencil. So I'll put it through my Platinum 6. But anything that's a little bit bigger that takes something that's basically 6 inches. These are exactly 6 inches wide. Again, you're losing some of the space here because of the little like carrier area here, but it needs to go through your machine. Now, if you don't really care and you have a machine that's a little bit smaller, I don't know, maybe like the MIDI, is the MIDI a little bit bigger, but I'm not sure exactly how wide the opening is. You can definitely take this to your trimmer and cut this off, or just with scissors, cut this top part off so you can still use this portion. You know, I don't know. I don't normally do surgeries on my things like that, but some people do, and it's just fine. So, for right now, I'm just going to cut this tag down just to have this ready to go. And literally all it is just doing this a little bit slowly. Oops, sorry guys, see, that's why I try to go slow, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm cutting this first instead of embossing then cutting, but do it however you like. And we're just gonna get started. So all I'm gonna do is bring this over, and I didn't get any of my stuff ready. So let's see. I'm gonna try it with how it should be. Let me grab my, I have the rubber mat, but I need the other plates. So traditionally on the Platinum 6, for embossing a die, you need your base plate, you need this plate, and you need the rubber mat. Now, what we're going to do right now is we're going to have this and this. So I can either place this down in it or on top or however, but I need to basically make sure that my mat is pushing up into... Sorry guys, my son came downstairs and I forgot where I was, so let's just talk about this again. So we have our die cut shape. I have my stencil, and you know, there's a nice side. Oh, actually I got a little schmutz on that side, but that's okay. And basically what you want is the rubber embossing mat to push up the paper up into this. Okay, so I'm gonna do this probably a little bit differently than what it's asking for in this thing, but that's okay. And I'm gonna put all that down, and I don't care what happens to this because like it's a kind of a eclectic pattern, not the biggest deal. So I'm gonna run this through. And that's just gonna give us a little pattern on our card. That is really nice. It's very comparable to like a 2D embossing folder. Actually, I mean, it's even a little bit better because the way it kind of pushes in, it curves, right? So it has a lot more movement, just really pretty. So there's just a basic thing to do. Okay, another thing we can do is the same thing, but I do want this to not move too much. So that's our piece of paper. I'm going to tape it from this side. It'll probably still move a little bit because that rubber embossing mat does whatever it wants. If you guys are familiar with these things, they just like, whoop, they just move. So I'm going to stick that down. Same thing, right? So rubber embossing paper, stencil, then this guy, making sure it's nice and straight so we don't mess up our stencil. So in this, we have basically the same as what's going on. I'm going to put this away though, because we're going to need to do a little something. I'm going to try to pick this up and not have it move. Okay, so hopefully, oh, you can even see the deboss side is so pretty. But on this side, I'm just going to grab a scrap of paper that I just had handy here. I'm not going to take that off, and now I'm just going to take some ink and a tool. Try to be a little darker on the outside and going lighter as I go in. I think this might be covering, nope. Okay, we have our stars. This one, I thought one of my sides was covering something, yeah, at the very end there. Okay, and I'm still holding it with my hand. I think that's good. And now look at this. Oh my gosh, you guys. So we have that inking, but you also have the texture. I'm trying to see if you can see that. And it feels like it. So I don't want to mess with it right now, but we'll let that dry and we'll check it out in just a minute. Another thing we can do is start off with the inking. And so this, sorry, so I was just taking this stuff off of here. Actually, we need to wash this, so I'll do that in just a minute. But all I'm going to do is just put the ink all over this. And as you can see, I'm not even taking time to make it blend nicely or even care about that, but you should. I really do like these brushes because they do handle it, but you see how it went right there? Because I was pushing it really hard, so don't do that. I was just trying to add a lot of color, but it will definitely add that little circular thing. So just kind of, and you can always come back and fix it. It's not a big deal. Like even right here, it looks like very much brush strokes. But if I come back in and keep working it, then it'll change a little bit. And again, I like to do a little darker on the edges than in the center, but whatever it is that you like. I'm going to go wash this off and I'll be right back. Okay, and from here I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put this down. Again, I don't really care if it moves, it probably won't. And I'm just going to run this through our machine again. Same thing, okay? I'll be right back. Okay guys, let's see what we have here. So again, paper. The rubber mat needs to push into it, but actually I was thinking about it, it might be fun if you did it the other way, because then it would deboss the color over here. But what we're going to do with this, and you might think, okay, what's going on, is just take a sanding tool. Like I said, I always use the ones that you find literally at like a not nail salon, no, like at Sally or even at Walmart, because they're cheaper than if you're trying to buy a block that's like a craft block, because they're like, oh, that's a specialty item now. Anyway, we're just going to take that and I'm going to go over the top. I know the sound sounds horrible, but as you can see what's happening there. So I'm going to take this, and actually I'm going to put a piece of paper down, because what happens is a lot of times I do this and it gets little sandy stuff all over my mat. So I'm just going to go through and just do that, and I'll be right back. That's pretty good. Actually, maybe a little bit more right here. Let me wipe that off. And so now you have a look like this. Now, remember I had mentioned before, like let's say you put the embossing folder, or well, the embossing folder, it's a stencil, on the other side, or embosses so it's opposite, right? So the paper is debossed basically. Then that leaves the green at the surface, like the full green, and then when you rub this away, it'll leave the little stencil area, this area, green, where the other is not. Actually, maybe I'll show you that in the next one, because what I was going to do next is just do the same thing, but with white core paper. So this is a piece of paper, again, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, just to start with, and it has a white core. So what I'm going to do with that, Actually, this is a perfect thing to try out with this. So instead of making your own like we just did, but let's say you start with this, so it doesn't really matter. Let me pop it over here so you guys can see the sandwich. Again, it depends on your machine, right? I'm just gonna pop this in here. Again, paper, rubber mat, whatever it is. Again, I'm gonna do it a little bit straighter, but it's not the biggest deal. So I'm just putting the stencil on the surface, the paper, then the rubber mat, just in case you're wondering again. And we'll roll that through and I'll be right back. So this is going to take some elbow grease because there's going to be a lot of surface, and this is white core paper, so it's, you know, good paper. But look at that. So again, just with some white core paper, again, just colored paper. If I took that sanding block and rubbed it on this side, it would expose little white bits just like we did here. But obviously the paper's already colored. You can also spritz this with water and distress it a little bit because we use distress ink. So we have a few different things here. And this time, instead of scratching away this side, we're going to do the other side. Now, it's going to take a minute, and I don't know how well it's going to look or how great it's going to show up, but let's try it. It's going to take a little while, guys. Now, if you're really patient and you want to completely rub off that top green layer, because this is depressed, right? I'm not using the embossed, I'm using the opposite side. You're just going to be sitting here for a while. But I'm just going to go up and down as much as I feel like, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I think that is enough for me now. Again, this is some really heavy-duty green white core paper, so if you want to keep going, keep going. But for me, that's a really nice technique. It looks almost antique, so I'm going to stop here because it brings out the image. But I didn't completely take off this green layer, right? This top green layer, but you can keep going. Let me clean up a little bit and I'll be right back. Just some really fun techniques that you can do with stencils. You can do this with embossing folders, of course. You can, it's just dies, you know, you can use dies in the same similar manner. Just push them into the rubber embossing mat without cutting it into a piece of paper. Like, so that you have a die, even a background die, that'd be really nice. Pop it on there, run it through, and all it does is push in instead of actually cut, because you're only using the rubber embossing mat, and it looks really cool. A lot of the same techniques. I was just thinking, even for this one, if we had left this on, and instead of scraping it away, well, anyway, wherever it is, where it matches up, get like a very damp cloth and just kind of wipe away the top. You can probably get some of that removed because it's, again, distressing, so it does that, right? It reacts with water. So just a few fun ways to add texture, and then you pop on your little toppers to do some texture with inking. That really looks really impressive, actually. I love it. Inking and then run it through and then rub away that top layer of the embossed area, and then just running it through, but of course you can do the inking and do the same thing just on the opposite side, right? Rubbing away that top layer, leaving the deboss, and now I have all these backgrounds that I can play with coming up. So just some ideas. Hope you try them out. Let me know if you tried them out, because I think a lot of times I forget about this because I have embossing folders, so I don't think, oh, I should grab these stencils, but we have so many cool stencils, right? I mean, how cute would it be to do the one with the little ho 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 all of the background and this kind of embossed and colored, or, you know, just a fun way to use these guys. So, alright guys, I will have the links in the description box. I have some images coming up, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye now.